Welcome to the Dental Brief, the world's direct, right-to-the-point podcast produced to get you the information you need to learn and grow your practice. To learn more about our guests and find links to information discussed on our show, visit our website, dentalbrief.com. On to today's episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Dental Brief. Today, I have with me our guest. This is going to be terrific, folks. I think you're really going to love this. It doesn't matter if you've been in practice for years or if you're a year or two away from starting a new practice. Going to be some great information today. Steve, go ahead and say hello.
Hey, it's good to talk to you. I really appreciate the opportunity, Patrick, and looking forward to this time.
Yeah, and so if some of you haven't heard of Steve Anderson, you're going today. Steve has a fantastic book out there. Steve, why don't you give us a little information about yourself, your background, how you got into dentistry, and then touch on your book a little bit for us.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, been a general contractor since '84. And '97, I got fed up, and like some dentists might. And I got tired of being everything to everyone and realized that I had no value other than just a number. And I said, what can I do different? And back then, my next step was, and this was while driving to work 15 minutes. I said, so who needs help? And I hate to say it, but dentists came to mind. And because repeatedly throughout the years, we had lots of dentists that would have lots of questions, and I can give you all kinds of examples. But basically, I said, okay, I'm going to specialize in dental. And I made a choice right then. I came up with the name of Denco Dental Construction. And from there, I took off. And since then, we've completed over 1,000 dental offices, plus other smaller remodels and whatnot. And in the process of that, when I first decided to specialize, I also did something where I took all the past dentists that I'd worked with and that were really top-notch dentists and took them to lunch and asked them hard questions. So what, now what? What can I do better? How could I improve myself? What should I invest in? And they gave me some great tidbits. I found out some really interesting secrets about dentists as a whole. And but I ended up committing to putting together a book within a year's time. And 10 years later, I took all my notes that I compiled. It was about 4 or 5 feet tall at that point. And we had the 2008 drop. And when everything stopped, and I took the time, invested, put together the first book that I teach at the schools. And then the second book now, Dentalese, is taking all my thoughts that I put and lecture on and put in writing.
So I want to get back to the book in a little bit towards the end. I definitely want to promote the book to our audience. But what I want to jump right into our format. I know that you are in Arizona, correct? And you build outs in Arizona still to this day?
Correct.
Yeah. So let's just get right into it. What are some of the major problems that you see that dentists have in the build out phase of a new practice or an existing practice rebuild?
Early on, the biggest heartache that I saw was the questions were repeatedly, so what now what? What do I do now? Who I turn to? Help, and they're just at a loss. And right now, that's very expensive information. I've seen lots of different programs put together for it, but no one's ever put together a how-to book. And basically, that's what this is through that entire process. And what is interesting is, I first had to realize what's the makeup of a dentist. And I realized some real important facts besides how many hours they work and, they make good money and all that. But the issue they don't like conflict. They don't know how to say no. And because of that, they end up with expensive items that sit on their counter that they don't never use. And they end up with conflicts with their team. They get frustrated. They get overwhelmed. They have unaccountable professionals that are on their payroll that have poor results, and relationships don't work out. And then also because of they're great technicians, but they don't understand the business side of things typically. And also that's ends up with poor business decisions. They get business run by emotion rather than what is the ROI, what's the real investment that I'm going to get the return on. And then also they're not understanding the numbers and how important they are. And then the other issue that I see is clarity, lack of clarity and understanding who they are. And repeatedly, those are the top three categories that I see, that basically when they don't have a clear understanding of who they are, they say yes to everything and take on too much and end up with a out of balance lifestyle, and relationships suffer, and they end up overworking and trying to be too many things to too many people.
Yeah, we see that happen far too often. So give me a good starting place if a dentist is looking to build a new practice, if they're looking to do a startup. What are some of the things they should be looking at first?
Well, the very first thing is understand who they are. That, chapter 1 in my book is all about your vision and creating that, and create a firm foundation of what you're about and what's important to you. So when you get all these other offers, all these exciting things come to you, you can say no if it doesn't apply and it doesn't fit within that mold. And that's the first one. That can save you so much time, so much effort. But also, if you're honest with yourself, there's a few dentists out there that shouldn't be in business. They should be working for someone else. And just understanding that up front can save you a lot of heartache and a lot of grief and a lot of mortality in the dental industry.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I think there's a pressure that people put on themselves, and I think it's driven somewhat, starts in dental school or even before dental school, where a lot of people think that they need to own a practice, or that's kind of what the next step is. But I know many dentists that are very happy, that make terrific incomes, and are really enjoy their life and have a lot of joy, that don't own practices. I think a lot of people get into and start up practices for the wrong reasons. A lot of freedom. Well, that comes, but it takes a long time to get there.
First things first.
Yeah, first things first. And I think there's, I don't think there's a process of starting a successful practice that doesn't involve some level of pain. So if you're trying to avoid that altogether by starting a practice, I'm not so sure that I would agree with that, but I think you're absolutely right on your point. So let's talk a little bit more about your book. So you've kind of gone into the first chapter a little bit. Let's talk about the middle towards the end of your book.
Okay, so the middle is the fun part. After you got dealing with talking about the budgets and talking about the importance of creating a team and how to make the process happen, and the importance of putting together an accountable team and what does that look like, then we talk about get into the finish and design. And I have like 70 pages just talking about the office design and the importance of it and what it looks like, and what feeds off of each other, and what not to do and what to do, and the importance of the operatory. That's your moneymaker, and really taking the time to understand what's really within that operatory. And it's amazing to me how many dentists I talk to, and some have practiced for years. And I'll ask them some pointed questions, and it's amazing the blank looks that I get on, I don't know. And they hadn't thought about, well, I've always done it this way. And then, but they just got done telling me all their pain points and all the frustrations they have. And so it's really taking time just to look and answer some of those questions.
Yeah, that's some great advice, Steve. Steve, tell me a little bit more about your business model. So I understand that you started off as helping dentists in construction, helping dentists with their build out, but you do more than just construction and build out, correct?
Yeah. Good question. What I like to do, Patrick, is I like to be a confidant. I like to be their eyes and ears, and like to basically understand what is important to each dentist and make that unique unto them, their own. And our slogan is making your dream a reality. And that's really what it's about, is if we take what's up in your head, and I'm excellent at taking and then putting it on paper, and then putting it into construction and making it happen. And it's fun, it's that's the fun part.
Yeah, there certainly is a lot of fun in the business and the industry, and so much of the business development side can just be a blast when you have the right approach and the right steps.
Yeah, and that's one thing that kind of piggybacking what you're talking about is what I tell clients when they're looking to build a profitable dental practice of their dreams. They go, well, what's the most important things? And could I share them with you?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, please, absolutely.
And so I came up with the fists of success. And if you could picture someone, Muhammad Ali standing there ready to take on the world. And what's so interesting is that basically what we were just talking about is there's dentists out there that have their fist up and they don't realize it. They're close to success because they're not listening, or they're not doing some key little steps, and it's hurting their future. And they don't want to listen to good advice, and instead they listen to the free advice and that everybody is willing to give. And so in the Fist of Success, we have 5 items. And what's interesting is as you go through those 5 items, your hands open up. So the first one is the FICO score. That's a huge thing. And, when the market tanked in 2008, what was interesting is so many dentists were just quick to just offload property and investments they had, and they didn't realize the consequences and the importance of keeping that up there. And, ideally in the low 700, 720 is, good. And, what's interesting is then the next is intelligent spending. What is that? Well, basically, especially for students coming out of school, they get this first check and they're excited. What do? They go buy the big house, buy the big car, and all of a sudden they're in debt. Mm-hmm. But if they would just, the thing you brought up, Patrick, is so powerful, is they don't want to invest in the little pain. That little pain is just waiting for, so first they save up the money, and they invest in their business, and then they buy the big ticket items. Right. If they do it in that order, because a lot of times even there's some lenders out there that won't even put the note on the credit bureau if you take a loan with them. And right. I find that real interesting. Well, but, dentists don't realize that.
I'm going to just kind of point that. I think this is really important, so I'm going to jump in here a little bit. And what delayed gratification means. So most people are familiar with the rule of 7, right? Money doubles every 7 years. So I'm 46, believe it or not, I'm past my midlife crisis, right?
Did you survive?
Right. So yeah, these people who think their midlife is at 50, I'm like, you think you're going to be at 100? No. So anyways, but I'd really like to buy a 911. And really, I look at them all the time. It's a $120,000 car. If I buy that car right now, it doesn't cost me $120,000. And it cost me probably about 28 years or 29 years worth of interest on that capital, right? So buying the 911 in 20 years from now or 30 years from now will cost me $120,000. But if I buy it now, it costs me more like $600,000 or $700,000 because of the interest that I'm going to lose, right? So,
but you're being practical.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I mean, there's times where I just think, hey, I should just go do it right now because I could die. But unfortunately, that's what drives a lot of people is, putting off putting off short-term pain, right? Trying to avoid the pain of not having that car. I guarantee you in 25 or 30 years, I would much rather have the money. And then if that's not true in 30 years, I can just go buy it. So sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted
no, it's so good. So
what you're saying.
So the fifth is success. We have the FICO score, we have, the intelligent spending, and then we talk about satisfy your passion. And I say that because there's dentists, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, that are in the just for the money. They're in it not because it's their passion. And one thing I've found with the dentists that are really successful is they don't have to work at it really hard because it just comes naturally. They enjoy it so much, it's not work. And when you enjoy your passion, that's what happens. And then the fourth item is, and as your hand opens up, is time for relationships. And it's not just the patients, but taking time for them and also acknowledging them, developing relationships with them, but also your family. And, the one that you swoon trying to have as a mate, and, the taking time for the things that you've invested in. And then the fifth is savings. That's kind of unheard of, and it's but the fifth is savings. And what happens is, if you start a practice, or even if you have an existing practice and you get ready to do something, banks love it that if you have that FICO score up there, the intelligent spending, and you haven't bought a lot of dumb things, and you kept your slate pretty clean, and you love what you do, and you're relational, and then you actually have money in the bank. Wow. It's huge. And you become, all of a sudden, rather than hands with closed, you've got open hands that people are looking at, and lenders are loving to talk to you, and all the other professionals are looking for you also. And then, so that's the first item in building your success. And then the second is hire a good, but not only good, but the best real estate broker. I just blows my mind how many dentists I see running around looking and trying to find the best deal they can, all their off hours, their weekends, and they negotiate a crappy deal because they don't understand how to negotiate.
Right.
And they don't understand the local market, and they don't know what they can't get, and everything about that. Yeah. And what really kills me is you can hire the best for free. What other profession do you know that you can hire the best broker to represent you for free? And so many people don't realize that. Well, they get a commission, and well, it's paid for on the other side. But they can give you such good advice. And I've seen dentists work a deal and they think they're doing good by getting $20 a square foot. And I've seen a broker that really understands the dental market go in and get $60, $70, $80 a square foot. And I've seen dentists negotiate their own deal, and they end up getting a month or 2 months free rent, and they're paying on the space before they move in.
Yep.
Versus one where they have a broker and they get 6 months free rent after they're open.
Steve, I just literally had, within the last 6 months, a friend of mine have a lease renewal for their practice on their desk. A great building, in a very, I should say, just a very desirable building in a very desirable city, where it is definitely a landlord's market. And they were ready to sign a new lease. I said, wait, talk to somebody in own real estate who specializes in this specifically, and saved them $100,000 over 8 years.
Yeah. I've seen that happen regularly. I even renegotiated, and I have a broker that saved a guy over 5 years, $70,000.
Yeah.
Just to renegotiate the lease.
Yep.
That's already had.
It's crazy. The renewal's on their desk. They're ready to sign. I interrupt it. Basically, he negotiates a new deal, and just like that, they did nothing but save, 6 figures. It's crazy. So, yeah, great advice. You got to work with someone who knows what they're doing.
And then the third item is the professionals. It's about seeking out the accountable professionals. And, there's so many professionals out there, and they're a dime a dozen. But ones that are willing to be accountable and put in writing what they're going to do for you with timelines, and be able to help and give them foreseeable dividends, and be able to see their return. Those are the top three.
Yeah, I think that's so important too. That's why we typically ask, one of the questions that I ask on the show is, how do you vet an expert? How do you find someone, right? Because there are a lot of people who claim to be professionals or experts, and they're kind of fly by night, or
Yes.
they don't have the best industry reputations, but people end up working with them. And then what happens is, it's like if a dentist hires a consultant, the consultant does a terrible job, then it's in the mind of the dentist that, hey, I tried a consultant in the past, that didn't work. Well, yeah, because they're a bad consultant. It's like having a bad meal and then never eating again, right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, no, I'm not going to go out to dinner. I went out to dinner one time, the food was horrible. It's crazy, right? But it is important to do a good job vetting. I sincerely agree with that. Stephen, I want to encourage our guests to check out your website. It's dreamdentalpractice.net.
Yes.
On there, they can buy a copy of your book, correct?
Right.
And it looks like you even get the first chapter for free.
Yes.
Right? So they can see if the value, if it works for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Steve. I'm going to go ahead and give you the last word. What last piece of advice would you give our audience?
Wow.
Put you on the spot.
You did. And I would be the best you can be, and hire things that you can't do or can't do extremely well.
Yeah, that's great advice, Steve. Appreciate it very much. To our audience, check out dreamdentalpractice.net. Grab yourself a copy of the book Dental East. I've not read it, but I promise you I will be reading it. Steve, would love to have you back on the show.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Did you know you can weigh in on today's topic on Facebook? Search The Dental Brief on Facebook or visit our website, dentalbrief.com, and just follow the link. We look forward to having you join us again on another episode of The Dental Brief.